Hello, and welcome to All Motion. This is Jake. Thank you all for sticking with us for the last 2 years. This is part 6, episode number 62, the final part of our mini series from the AIM team, Scarcity and myself. Thank you all for taking the time, putting up and listening to All Motion as we grow. Let's just get right into it. Number 46, Brennan Inch, what it takes as a manager to make tough decisions. Number 47, another episode with Ashley. We all have a purpose. Number 48, Dr.Jouviole Myrtil, Love and Relationships Part 2. Number 49, Augustus, Pallante, Mind Control and the Endless Rabbit Hole. Number 50, Malyssa Jackson, Growing Up Too Fast. Number 51, Ray Jinks, Growing Up in Harlem, New York City. Number 52, Chris GC, Don't Open Doors That Should Not Be Open. Number 53, David Williamson, Out of Body Experience. Number 54 again, David Williamson, Out of Body Experience Part 2. And number 55, Bobbie Holliday again, Comedy Confessions Inside the Mind of Bobbie Holliday. Number 56, Malyssa Jackson, Marriages and Relationships.
In summer is mowing, weed whacking, mulching and trimming, maintenance services, landscaping install services. And we've been fortunate throughout the years, it's been about 25 years now, to really never do anything except bring more people into the business and give more jobs. The economy has affected it, I believe, but the weather has become a huge issue in not receiving any snow really at all in the Northeast last winter. And then this year in the spring here, May and June are our heaviest mowing months where we're really pumping hard and there's no rain. We've had I'm sure everybody's aware of the situation. You look outside and normal people just see brown, but for us, that's dollar signs falling through the cracks and we can't mow. And that's a big part of our business. And not being able to do any snow last winter and this spring being very, very dry, customers are pushing their jobs off because they don't want to plant plants that are going to die. We can't mow grass that isn't growing. So, we did have to tell a couple people that we don't have the work for them right now, which has been tough. And something that is a big part of our business and our culture is the people. We care very deeply about the people. So it was difficult. It's hard to look somebody in the eye and say, hey, you're going to have to look for something else. We can't make it happen right now for whatever reason, but I can lead into it later. I just kind of tell them, this is something out of our control and we're trying to control everything that we can control, but at the end of the day, the result is the result. And, we did have to lay some people off.
And I wanted to just dive into it. And you shared about it in the last episode. It was the H2A and H2B program. I tied the link.gov website to it, the process. Because some of those employees, I'll be clear, it's pretty remarkable and amazing what you do. Even though I'd say your business is not small anymore. I say definitely middle. Because, when I was there Labor Day, I never knew that, you
penetrated multiple industries due to the fact that it was myself, my cousins, and their dad, alpha males, basically in one confined space, that confined space being the landscaping business. And we're all very high performers. We move quick, make quick decisions, and a lot of big heads in a room. You start to run into each other, and there's not really any issues. It's just that we needed to branch out. We just realized over time that it's going to make more sense to not stay in one lane and branch out into other lanes, diversify. So that's where we took it. Yes. So we're in real estate, property management. We are also in landscaping. Me and him would both jump out and she'd pop the trunk and we'd both have to get the mower out because we were so little that.
Just number one, want to thank you again for your time. What advice would you want to give someone that is struggling and feels that they have no purpose?
Wow, Jacob, that's a really great question. You know what was interesting? I think I said this to you in Scarcity. I said, when you guys asked me to do this interview, I said, why I'm just an educator. I've seen the other people that you've interviewed on here, you know, and it almost felt like I had no purpose on being on this podcast. And I think that sometimes when you think you have no purpose and you can't find it within yourself, this is where I always say, turn to your community, turn to those around you, because sometimes you might just need a little extra to help you build yourself up, right? And you and Scarcity, you guys basically were like, no, X, Y, and Z, and this is why. And all of a sudden I had all this confidence to do this, because I myself sometimes feel as though, what is it, that imposter syndrome, maybe, like I might not be good enough to do something, or I don't have enough credentials. So I think when you are hitting that low point, I would always reach out, anybody you feel comfortable with, and let somebody know that you just need to be, you know, you just need a little extra, like TLC in a way. Personally, for me, that's what I do. It took me a while to find my tribe, but I have it, and I've always been fortunate enough to have my family. For those of you who may not have that community around you, I would definitely suggest using some of the free phone lines in which you can talk to someone for free. I've had people who are now my friends, and unfortunately I didn't know them during the time that they've used these, and they were the ones that taught me about it. Sometimes we all hit that bottom of the barrel, and we just need someone. And I don't think there is anything wrong with asking for help. And I think asking for help is the most underutilized tool that we have. And it's literally just asking for help.
And, you know, as we just roll right into it, then our last interview, people, you know, reached out, and they reached out to me as well. And they asked me, could she expand on love? And we kind of dove into it, but there were people that wanted more information. And how could love like be a skill? People would argue and say it's natural. Like if you don't have chemistry or vibe with a woman, man, you know, want to be with, like, how could that be a skill?
Yeah, I do remember too that you asked about it, and other people did who listened to the last podcast. A few of them, they did kind of message me and ask me about that. How could that be? And so I had to message a few people. But I am going to answer the question to that. Now, I think love is somewhat of a complicated emotion for several reasons, but let me at least go into the answer of the question. Let me start here. So I believe love is the most difficult emotion, as I said, right? To describe and to make clear to people. Love comes with those good feelings. From the moment we're born, we need to connect, bond, we need nurturing. And I believe that love helps us to get it from our caretakers and give it to others. In our culture, so I'm going to do a little history here, right? So in our culture, unlike the ancient Greeks, we look at love as an instinct. So we believe that we instinctually love, right? Bond, accept, and connect. In the United States, part of what it is being said about the way that we look at love is that we look at it like it's an instinct. It's like we believe that we instinctually love, which leads to connecting, bonding, right? In a perfect world, yes, I guess maybe love being instinct, we could probably deal with that. But that's not the world we live in.
It's, you know, something that you've dove into on preservation of the human race. Does a entity, organization, or someone, in your opinion, run the world?
It's not a they anymore. It's an it. And it's demonic in nature. It's demonic in nature. I believe that it is advanced technology. That's all I can say.
Yeah, so So I just wanted to say, Augustus, so do you feel like, the whole AI movement, and I know you mentioned ChatGPT, do you feel like that is the beginning of advancing that advanced technology? Or is that kind of
I believe that it's already around. I believe that it's private. I believe that they control it, and it now tells them what to do. It tells us on how to think.
And you being a Christian, what do you feel like is the right way to combat that for us in this country and just people all over the world? What do you feel like is the way we combat that? Obviously, and I have an idea what you're going to say, but I'd like to get your perspective.
I believe that everybody should find a higher power, and that the word of God is the source code that will unplug your mind from the matrix that we find ourselves in, that is demonic in nature. I believe that this matrix is man-made, orchestrated by forces of evil, and that a higher power, namely God, says, doesn't have to be like this anymore. You don't have to be subjected to this for eternity, and gives you the option. And it is a narrow path. It is not easy. But with that being said, there is a way out. The devil told Eve in the Garden of Eden, do as you please, do as thou wilt. That your will is greater than God's. And that was the first psychological operation on humanity in the beginning of time. It's been around. And that's exactly what we see today. Do as you please. You are God. Do what you want to do, and completely leaving out, not even acknowledging that there are some things that you're going to do in life that are probably worth the most doing that aren't for you. They're for something bigger than you. And that's what I believe is the escape route from this tyranny. That's what the Bible's all about. For me, is defy tyrants, obey God. It's that simple. If you don't like religion, okay, I understand. Religion is just the weaponization of the word. I get it. But do not throw out the baby with the bathwater, especially baby Jesus. That's blasphemous. Go ahead, Scarcity.
Yeah, I was just going to say that a lot of people that I grew up with, they don't necessarily believe in the Bible. I mean, they don't necessarily believe in religion, but they believe in the Bible, right? They believe in...
That's me. Me too.
Yeah, right. Like they're more spiritual than religious. Yeah. So makes perfect sense. I grew up, in Harlem, New York City, and they were telling me back then we're about to enter the time of revelation, or we're living in the times of revelation. And that was back in like the 90s, early 2000s, before, September 11th, 2001, which I was in New York City when that happened. They were telling me this is a time of revelation. So it gets really, really deep, as you mentioned.
Coming from parents who grew up in the 40s and 50s and 60s, nobody ever taught them how to be themselves. So how are they going to teach me how to be myself? Back in the day, Black people were taught how to be slaves, not how to be themselves. So now we're just now learning in this newer generation that it's important to be yourself. It's important to know who you are. So I struggled with that for a long time as a teenager. I had a really, really bad temper when I was in high school. And I had a boyfriend that was a terrible, terrible, terrible cheater who cheated all the time. So this just enraged me even more. I had a really, really bad anger management issue. So I would punch holes in the walls.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And
I won't mess with you.
Probably not a good idea because I'm still a good fighter. So I would punch holes in the walls. And my mom realized that there's holes in the wall all over the place, and we had to cover them up constantly. So she went and bought me a punching bag.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, one of those standalone punching bags, and I would hit that thing every day for years to keep from being so angry. And that was kind of the beginning of my process of, being physically active and understanding how important it is to be physically active to keep myself from being angry. Now, I didn't actually learn how to deal with my anger. I just learned how to let it out on the punching bag.
Right.
So that was the beginning of my fight journey, which continued on through life. Always having something to release into, but it still wasn't enough. By the time, I remember when I was younger, I was reckless at this time, my dad would say things to me like, you're not going to make it to 21. I'm like, what do you mean? You're my dad. You're not supposed to tell me that. He's
Right.
like, yeah, you're not going to make it to 21 years old.
That was motivation, though.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I continued to drink every day and and hang out with the wrong people and put myself in bad environments. And I got married. Actually, no. Let me be honest. I got knocked up.
So you got pregnant at what age?
I was about 20.
That's still not like 14 or 15, like some.
That's true. I'm
not saying like, one or the other. It's still young, but.
So I did make it out of high school. I made it out of high school. I wasn't the worst. I went to college for like a year, but I pretty much didn't do well at all. So this is difficult to say out loud. Like,
hey, it's not about you and me. Just think about it. It's not about you and me, though.
I know.
My accident I had on my face, and that's how I started designing the hats. And I just kept going to rummage sales and getting hats, redesigning them, creating them. And then one day I was at church and I had this hat on. I thought the hat was the worst thing you could think of. And it's so funny because I said, this hat looks so stupid. I had redesigned a hat. And I said, look, because I was having fights with my boyfriend and I was going to break up with him and he cheated on me all the time, blah, 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 this and that. And so I said, you got to wear this hat to church. And so lo and behold, I wore the hat to church because it was a Saturday. I think, it was a Saturday that I was designing the hat. And on Sunday, I wore the hat. And I walked in with the hat on, and the late, great Andre Leon Talley was there. And he said, that hat is fabulous. And I was like, oh, my God. I could not believe it.
That's pretty cool, though. That's a cool story.
I could not believe it.
Isn't that a cool story?
I just couldn't believe it. I just really couldn't believe it. He said, that hat is fabulous. He said, can you make me one of those hats? And I said, absolutely. And then it was Sunday. The next day I got up and I'm telling you, and I just threw that hat together and I thought it was awful. And I threw that, I just had to go in the garment district in New York City, which is like 30, it's in the 30s, 27, 30s, 34th. Street area, 6th and 7th Avenue. And so I went hunting for a hat designer to help me make the hat that I made, and I had to recreate it for Andre.
Is that problem? I know I don't want to get off topic, but that area that's like below Midtown a little bit, is that primarily like the garment and the designer district of New York City, that 27th, 30th Street, like you just said?
Yeah, exactly. It's in between, it's like Battery Park area and lower. So Battery Park is like 42nd Street and 6th and it's 7th and 6th. No, it's 6th and 5th Avenue. Around that area, it's all over. So, but it's going downtown. So it's like 42nd, 41st, 40, going downtown. So it's 39th. And so and so forth. That's all of the accessory areas.
Chris, wildest and craziest experience you remember with the women you ever had?
Ooh, man. It was a lot, bro. It was a lot. One of the wildest and crazy experiences I ever had. I used to be so before I joined the military, be a club bouncer, right? / club promoter. Worked with a company when I was in college at the time. And one of the guys was like, look, man, you have a great personality. Want you to, work with us and whatever the case may be. So I started off as a bouncer because I'm 6'5", 220 some pounds. Ultimately, right, going to the club life, you start meeting like a lot of people, a lot of people influence. And of course, if you're a male, you're going to meet a lot of women. Some of the women, you don't know what they entail. You know exactly what they entail later on, if you know what I'm saying, right? But to answer your question, I met this one lady who I very mystique. She was super, super cool. Everybody wanted to be around her. She was very beautiful, man. She had green eyes, man, light-skinned woman. just a beautiful body, natural body, spoke so eloquent. Knowing her for a couple times at the club, I seen her for a couple months. And then, all of a sudden, man, we just got, right to it, man. You could take right to it however you want to take it. We ended up vibing for a while, right? Come to find out, she had like a lot of toxicity, a lot of crazy background story to where I don't want to put her business out, like out of respect for her. But I ended up becoming like, somewhat toxic. I don't know if you guys seen that movie Thin Line Between Love and Hate with Martin Lawrence and
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
and Lynn Winfield, man. Like it was on that level, right?
That's deep. That's
right.
deep.
Right. If she couldn't physically be around me, I was going to suffer in something. Either my car was going to suffer, I was going to be paying some bills, something, right? And the thing is, I knew that this woman was bad for me, but the problem was that every time I would get around her, we were just consistently forcing whatever. One time I remember I was in the subway and, I ended up seeing her and I was trying to avoid her when I was in the city and just ended up getting in the subway, ended up getting in her Jeep. I go to like bounce in another club. She goes to another club, messing with her in the club when I'm on the clock. It was crazy, man, right? To where one of my friends, he talked to me, he said, "Hey man, you're losing it, bro. You're losing it," right? Eventually I had to look myself in the mirror and I said, look, I just can't do it. What I ended up having to do, right, ultimately, was I had to get a restraining order on this woman, man. It was crazy, right? And I know some people and some men may be like, you know what, man, like, all of that. And I'm not saying that I'm not all that at all. What I'm saying was just that me and this woman just clicked. I don't know what it was. I think she had some traits that she really wanted that I had, and vice versa for her end. But at the same time, that's just what ended up happening. Ultimately, we just left it there.
Growing up in Yanceyville, I understand, and I said to you before on our call that my family's from Kinston, which is actually, I looked at it on the map, it is actually 2 hours south of Yanceyville. So I can imagine, the things that you've experienced there because the things that my grandma told me growing up there. What was it like, growing up and seeing like the Ku Klux Klan walking down Main Street? Like, how did that make you feel?
Yeah, that stuff was scary, and I think for me, the biggest scary part of it was looking at the emotions, of everybody that was there, like seeing my family respond to it, my aunts, my mother, just the anger that they were expressing, and I was seeing this, and I'm probably, as early as 5, all the way, maybe the last time I may have seen it, may have been a little bit older than 5 or 6, but just looking up at them and seeing that anger, it just kind of informed me. It kind of, it gave me a little education. Like this is how you respond to this stuff. You feel when they give you this kind of hate or this kind of display, I guess, of supposed to be hate, because I didn't even understand what the sheets and all that stuff really was, But when you are presented with what is supposed to be hate, you just respond with hate. Even, in my mind, it was almost like even if you don't even understand fully, if they hate you, hate them back, And that was like kind of the beginning of me kind of getting socialized into this whole I'm supposed to hate them, kind of orientation.
No, absolutely. And that kind of is a perfect segue to my next question, which my next question is, people often say that anger and trauma is the result of, someone being raised in a single family household. But from speaking with you, you were raised with both parents, but then you were still angry, which that kind of perplexed me. So what are your thoughts on like why the youth is so angry and violent? You have any insight on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think some of it could be, the absence of one parent or another. But this society, I mean, it polarizes opinions and thoughts so expertly. I mean, you can, if you looked at the American news, you would think that no white people are ever killed by police. You would think that.
Right. Yep.
But it's probably twice as many white people are killed by police than African Americans. And, they make up 5 more, in the population, 5 more times the population of Black people than we, their population is 5 times greater than ours. So statistically, it should be 5 times more, white people getting killed by police, but that's not the case. It's twice as many, but that's enough to where they should be just as mad about this type of issue as we are. but because news only seems to spread this narrative that we are the ones that this is happening to, and it seems to be suggesting that it's because we exhibit some unique kind of anger that makes this more likely. You know, that's what I'm seeing is none of that is true. So part of the anger stuff, a lot of it is just polarized. It's just because we're giving a script that we're supposed to think a certain way about this place. And we just, most people, and I was one of these people included, we accept this narrative that we're given, or we accept a narrative from the narratives that we have to choose from, and we run with it, even when our reality contradicts the narrative that we're trying to that we've accepted.
Yeah, like an out of body experience, man. Like what's that like? And like what did you see that like I can't see right now? Because I mean, there's a lot of situations there that I've heard some people go through, and it's like they don't see their life flash before their eyes. They see like some other, mission that they have, and it's like, well, now I find the keys, within myself, and it's like you already know, but for some reason, when you come back to this realm, it's like you forget that knowing, if that makes sense.
No. That's the easiest way for me to explain what I went through to explain what I went through to address what you're asking. Because when I came back here, at one point I was so depressed that I just wanted to go back. I just wanted to leave here and go back there. And I started meditating really, really deeply about just seeing that space and being there. And one time I went back to that space. One time I went above myself, and I was out of my body, and I was just looking down at myself, and I was just sitting and in contemplation, and I could see myself, and I forgave myself for being confused about all of this stuff, because when outside of the body, there's just a different kind of clarity. Like the bandwidth of a body and the storage capacity of a body is limited. The bandwidth of awareness and the storage capacity of awareness is infinite. So when I stared at myself, I was like, well, he's not going to ever stop trying to figure this stuff out. And in spite of all of the other stuff that he's having to contend with, like that's amazing that he's so focused on trying to understand the spiritual stuff, even though his life, the mundane stuff, is kicking his ass, So it's like I forgave myself, and I finally saw myself as a beautiful person for the first time, when I was looking down at myself. But when I actually did a different meditation and I took my awareness back to that space, the feeling was so overpowering that my body started shuddering. Tears were coming out of my eyes, and I lost control of my nervous system. But when it stopped, I was so happy. So it's like, but what could I do with that? Almost a seizure. I couldn't really function in that seizure. So the joy that I felt outside of my body, try to channel that into my physical body, it didn't seem very possible. It felt almost out of control, like an ecstatic kind of seizure almost, of my body. So I think that the reason why we can't bring the full understanding of that back into the physical realm is simply a matter of how information is carried and stored, and in the physical form you're going to have to deal with what you have the capacity to deal with, and also I've had health issues that influences my capacity to carry information. There's a lot of things that this body that we have, and the anatomy of this body isn't just limited to the physical body. The anatomy that we're dealing with is mind, body, ego, energy, spirit, all of this stuff. There's a lot of things that I think influence how we are able to carry that type of knowing.
So the thing is, when I go to my cousin who was in church, and I would rap to him these dirty lyrics, he was like, "You go to church. Why are you rapping for the devil? Won't you rap for Jesus?" So I twisted up like Tupac had "I Ain't Mad at You." And I wrote a song called "I'm Still Holding On." I called it "Reverse the Curse." So a lot of times I use these videos to have opportunity to minister on the flip side. whether it's through DM and the popularity, I get to talk to young people and tell them, I get to minister to them. So it's just like rapping, but it's comedy, and you just flip it and you're able to help people out through dark times. And that's what it's about, man, helping people out through dark times.
One of your videos that cracked me up that I saw on your on your Instagram account. I think you took it down. You were driving, and there was it was in Philly, and they had it was a cop, and they had a street shut down, and he looked at you like, "Sir, get the hell out of here!" Keep going. He was waving you on, and he looked at you, and he started cracking up because he didn't realize it was you. Do you remember that video? It was really
yeah. The black cop. The black cop, and he was saying your videos make my day, basically. Yeah. So I was driving by him. I was like, and he was like, oh my God, like it's you. He got excited to finally run into me, basically. And that was a blessing when that happens, because you get people know who you are. And now when I open my mouth, I'm nothing like what they see. I have an opportunity to enter. Laughter opens the door to the soul, and I'm able to pour out, trying to help people, man, because a lot of us are unhappy. A lot of us are miserable. A lot of us don't know about our next week and next year. And I want to be that voice to guide people in the right direction.
Real quick, before Scarcity goes, I want to say something real quick. Sorry, Scarcity. My mom's favorite comedian, and I want you to speak, if you don't mind, about this, was Richard Pryor. What did he mean to you, and why do you think he's so important to comedians today?
Richard Pryor is important because he held the baton. He went further with it, and people like Eddie Murphy was able to get part of the baton. There were people like Mike Epps to Kevin Hart, and those people reaching people like Keenan Ivory Wayans and Marlon Wayans, and then they was able to reach me through Martin, and then Jamie Foxx. You know what I mean? So it's all about carrying the torch, whereas though it reached other people. So Richard Pryor is like the staple of comedy, and his comedy reached people, and his legacy lives on to this day in somebody. Man, that was awesome. Thank you, Lord.
That was a powerful one. That was a powerful one, Bobbie. Question about Richard Pryor is he transcended a lot of the levels of, if you go back to like comedy back in those days, like you go back to like 70s, early 80s, there wasn't like crazy like that. Like he would say, he spoke his mind, and I think that is a good comedian, especially now in a time where we have like cancel culture. People want to see how skilled and gifted you are, because we have a lot of people in our families that are funny, but it takes a certain level of skill to make a serious person laugh. And that's what I've seen Bobbie Holliday do. That's how I even got onto him, because I see a lot of people do skits and stuff online and TikTok and Instagram and YouTube. But when I seen Bobbie, how he went from being serious with somebody and talking about God with them and inspiring people to making like straight up street dudes like, yo, homie, you this ain't the right one, homie. You got the wrong dude. And he still managed to make them laugh after that. A random person that they've never seen him a day in their life. That's like a gift from the creator. You know what I'm saying? Because not everyone can do it. If you think it's easy, go and try to do that, and you'll see how difficult it is. It's not that easy. It's a God-given talent. So anyway, I was just saying that's where I see Bobbie Holliday, because he's interacting with the actual people.
The fact that if you don't understand something, you cannot communicate.
Absolutely.
So in that episode, he did Alexander the Great, second episode on Emotion, did a phenomenal job at breaking that down. And it's both Scarcity and him.
And I would love to listen to that, because I agree wholeheartedly. I think that two people can be communicating and having a conversation, but if you're not understanding each other, then it's like talking to a brick wall. And then what I find so interesting is that one person will continue to say the same thing over and over, but nobody is hearing anything.
Right.
I got you. Can't say the same words, and think that now I understand.
It's like talking to a wall, right?
It's like talking to, it's exactly talking to a wall.
Yeah.
So, that's difficult when you're in a relationship and people are not willing to break through the wall. Because if there's a wall there, then now you're both living on either side of the wall. Right? Because the wall is the communication, and you're talking to the wall. You're not talking to your partner. You're talking to the wall. So both of you are on either sides of the wall, and you're living together, and you're married together, and you're in this relationship together, but there's a wall there.
Right.
And somebody has to pick up the fucking jackhammer and break the wall. So whatever it takes, whether that means, work out together or go to counseling together or, I don't know, bringing a friend or, journal together, who knows? I don't know what the answer is, but something has to get you through the wall. Otherwise, that relationship is destined to not work because eventually someone's going to walk away from the wall.
Right. Absolutely. I appreciate it. Yeah.
They're not walking away from the relationship. They're walking up from the imaginary wall that's been built there by lack of comprehension in the communication. So I really I really like the idea that the comprehension matters more than the actual words.
Correct.
Because you can talk till you're blue in the face, but if you don't understand each other, then the words are wasted. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Yeah. And I had never quite heard it that way before, but for me, based on what I have experienced, it makes perfect sense because that was one of the issues where it was like, I don't think that you understand what I'm saying. And for me, because I like to get better. I like to grow. I like to go to get help or whatever it takes to move forward. That's me. So that's what I understand. But, some people just say, well, hey, I'm giving you love by my love language. Why isn't that enough? And I feel like when you're speaking forever, because, marriage is forever, I feel like there's more things that have to be done for two people to be happy. It's a lot of people who stay married forever that are not happy. I don't understand that.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people, yeah.
It's your life. If you're not happy, why are you here?
Right.
You are here to be happy and enjoy your life and enjoy yourself and to do the things that make you happy so that the people around you can be happy. Because don't think for a second that if you're miserable, that the people around you are happy being around you.
Right.
Because they're not.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like you said, you mentioned energy. When you're around someone and they're miserable.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Especially if you're around them all day, every day. So it's important for you to be honest with yourself and connect to your own source of happiness and your own soul, your own spirituality, so that you can free yourself. And then that way, the people around you can be free. Your relationships can be free. Your kids, your parents, your family, your business, your job, whatever. You can live a free existence.
Wow, that is a great way to end a mini-series. Just want to say thank you to all of our guests, not just from part 6, episode 62, but all of the last 6 parts, episodes. Want to say thank you to our guests. Thank you to all of you, the listeners. And just want to say, please, if you have not done so already, please check out our website, allmotionpodcast.com. And please subscribe to our emailing list. It's very quick and easy to do. From all of us at the AIM team, Scarcity and myself, take care and be safe.